Surfers and associated subsurface explorers usually inherit attacks by sharks. However, it's not an everyday phenomenon. In 2020, we saw 21 fatal shark attack incidents worldwide. That is traditional and in line with previous years. With the changing of the marine world, sharks follow their prey and move closer to famous shores, causing more and more attacks yearly because of how close they come within human contact. However, we have seen many terrible shark attacks in movies, which may not always be entirely accurate. This time, we will find out the reality about the world's 10 worst shark attacks that have been recognised. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get right into the video. 1. Brooke Watson. The first documented target of a shark attack, British merchant sailor Brooke Watson, was swimming in the harbour of Havana in 1749 when he was attacked by a shark. Watson had fought to keep the shark away from him, but the shark returned for more. The 14-year-old crew saw the attack and hauled him out from the bloody water, saving his life. Although he lost his foot to the shark, and later his leg was amputated, Watson managed to serve as a Member of Parliament for 9 years before becoming Lord Mayor of London. Like our previous victim, Watson also fought off the shark bravely. He may not have been fully intact after the untimely incident, but he lived on and had a successful life. 2. Rodney Fox. At the time, Rodney Fox was 13 when in 1953 a great white shark grabbed him around the middle of his body and dragged him upside down into the ocean. Fox was only trying to defend his Australian spearfishing title when this tragic incident occurred. The predator released him as Fox poked at its eyes, but he came back and struck again relentlessly. Fox forced his fist down the neck of the beast and tore the skin of its arm free again. The shark released Fox, yet swam across the water for a third time for another attempt at taking Fox's life. The youth was rescued after almost drowning and pulled onto a nearby boat, with his ribcage, lung and upper stomach exposed due to the severity of the attack. His vital organs were miraculously preserved and endured after 4 hours of operation and a total of 360 stitches. Fox may have been one of the most brilliant and quick-thinking victims of a shark attack, as he fought his captor 3 times. His quick thinking and witty actions ultimately saved his life. He is still alive to this day and living healthy at the age of 80. 3. Randall Fry. In 2004, when the tragedy hit, Cliff Zimmerman was diving for an abalone with his friend Randall Fry off the coast of California. Zimmerman recorded that before hearing a whooshing sound filling the water shift as if a boat went by, he turned from Fry for a millisecond. He spun round to see Fry gone and a shark fin surfacing until the surrounding water turned red briefly. Zimmerman swam for his life. The severed head and body of his partner were discovered separately the next day. 4. Terrence Manuel. In 1974, as he tried to make his way into the safety of a boat powered by his friend John Talbot, a 10-foot white pointer ripped off Terrence Manuel's right leg. The 26-year-old had been searching almost 30 feet below the surface of the water for sea snails when he unexpectedly exploded through the surface and shouted, "Shark!" Talbot tried to make any effort to save his helpless friend, but was unable to avoid the brutal assault and was forced to watch as Terrence, his friend, bled to death in the water. 5. Barry Wilson. Swimming near Lovers Point off the Californian coast, located in Pacific Grove, California, in 1952, 17-year-old Barry Wilson was seen by witnesses to jerk suddenly from side to side in the water, which was peculiar to the bystanders who were watching. The young tuba player then screamed before witnesses saw a shark rearing out of the water to attack him from the front and drag him under the surface of the water. Wilson resurfaced seconds later, screaming and flailing his arms in a pool of blood. 5 fellow swimmers fought for 30 minutes to drag him back to the beach through the rough surf, but like most other unlucky shark attack victims, he bled to death before they reached the shore. Loss of blood may be the most common cause of death amongst shark attack victims, as most don't survive long enough to receive any medical attention by professionals. This is mainly due to the shark's aggressive and violent tendencies to tear the victim apart, leaving them with many open wounds for blood to escape. 6. Pacific Coast Attacks. There were 4 shark attacks that occurred during a 15-day period in 1984, beginning with the gruesome death of a 28-year-old diver off the coast of the United States. Omar Conja stared vertically in the water and watched to the shore as his companion, Chris Rem, saw a big white shark coming up behind him from the water. It grabbed him from behind and, while shaking him violently, pulled him under the water, Rem exclaimed later. The shark reappeared and released Conja and swam immediately to his friend. Rem dragged his buddy to his dive mat and swam to shore, but Conja bled out and unfortunately was pronounced deceased on the spot. 7. Robert Pamperin. In 1959, Henry M. Robert Pamperin was diving for sea snails off La Jolla Cove in San Diego, California, which is notorious for shark attacks as it is right next to the Pacific Ocean. Pamperin's companion, Gerald Lehrer, detected him screaming for help. Turning, Lehrer saw his friend upright and artificially high within the water, along with his diving mask missing. As he swam closer, Lehrer watched Pamperin slowly disappearing into the crimson waves, and diving to a lower place on the surface, he saw his friend being dragged to the ocean bed in the jaws of a 22-foot shark. Looking out in the water for his remains, the Californian Coast Guard found solely one swim fin that belonged to Pamperin whilst he was diving. 8. Jersey Shore Attacks. 4 folks were killed during a spate of shark attacks on the coast of Jersey in the United States throughout the deadly wave of 1916. The primary victim of this disturbing and sorrowful event was 25-year-old Charles Van Sant, who bled to death once sharks stripped the flesh off his thigh. Van Sant had only the intention of having a good day as he went for an early evening swim, though these wishes were obviously not met and plans changed rapidly. 5 days later, Charles Bruder, 27 at the time, was killed after a shark tore into his abdomen and severed his legs as he swam off the beach at Spring Lake. The final attacks took place 6 days later, on July 12, 1916, in Matawan Creek. Lester Stilwell, a 12-year-old local boy, was dragged underwater as he splashed in the creek with friends. Stanley Fisher, 24, plunged into the water to search for Stilwell, but was himself attacked by the shark and bled to death. The 12-year-old's mutilated body was found washed up 150 feet upstream 2 days later. 9. Shirley Ann Durden. In 1985, Shirley Ann Durden was hunting for scallops throughout the Peak Bay of Australia when she was abruptly assaulted by a 20-foot-long great white shark. The mighty fish mercilessly terrorised and killed the 33-year-old in its strike, as her husband and 4 youngsters could only watch in horror from the shore. By the time rescuers arrived, all that remained was her headless body floating within the water. Within very little time, the shark came back to the surface, where Durden's head was floating, and had eaten that too, leaving nothing of the unfortunate woman. 10. USS Indianapolis. More than 900 men were thrown to doom and to the mercy of the sharks of the Pacific Ocean when their American warship, the USS Indianapolis, was split in 2 by Japanese torpedoes due to World War II in July 1945. When rescuers arrived at the spot of the unprecedented occurrence 4 days later, they found 579 men dead, with many chewed to pieces by circling sharks. Among only 316 survivors, Woody James said, "The sharks were around, hundreds of them. All would be silent, and then you would hear someone screaming, and you knew a shark had got him." This may have been one of the biggest, if not the worst, shark incidents in the Western Hemisphere. Those were our picks for the top 10 worst shark attack occurrences that have been reported. If you're ever planning to take a trip to the beach, always make sure you know how to fight off these vicious predators, as it might just be the reason for your survival.